just leave the same through the wind range. I just find it easier to leave those and concentrate on other stuff. Now, once at points I have played around with different shroud tensions and forestays tensions, but I think I've found a happy medium where it copes well when it's windy and copes when it's light as well. I don't personally feel like it's much harder. I think if you want a good high mode, you're still going to have to hike hard. You're just going to keep your main sheet in more, and you're going to gain your height from steering and playing the main sheet and not driving on that leech, or not driving, just like driving on the sail quite as much. And I find like it's quite choppy on Sunday, especially on port. I thought it was quite nose on into the chop, so trying to pinch into that, it was quite easy to stall when you hit a big wave. So yeah, I guess it does come from confidence and knowing that it does work, and I can go high if I want to, I find, but I just prefer to go lower, and I know it's going to work out really. Yeah. There probably are times that you want to sail different modes tactically. if it's lifting and you're maybe the lower boat, you want to foot into that header so that when it does, when it lifts and you foot into the lift, and then when it heads you can tack, and you sort of gained that leverage on the person that you were next to. But then again, if you're the inside boat, you might want to try and pinch up if you don't think it's going to go back, because then that person's sort of sailed away and they've got to sail some of the beat on a header then, whereas you can try and sail as much on the lift. But I always found on Sunday that you would get to the left and you're in the favourable tide, and I did find a couple of times there was a header there, so I tacked a couple of times, maybe a little bit below the ley line, and then it lifted for me, so people that had gone further had sailed extra distance, and I just cut the corner. And I think like me and Paul have chatted, and Paul found he did the same a couple of times. Just tack like you don't when I've had talks from people about tactics, you get into a ley line early, you don't really gain any advantage tactically, because if it heads, you're on the ley line and you can't really tack out to take any advantage from that header that you got. And then if it lifts, you've just sailed more distance than other people. So getting to ley lines early doesn't generally work out. I just set it in the middle. So as soon as I'm using kicker, so getting into that fully powered up to overpowered stage, I just centre off the traveller. There's usually sort of a bit of a crossover point where, depending what the waves are doing or something, I'll, in my light wind sort of setting, just as I'm getting my bum over the side, or if I'm sat on the side tank, my traveller will be out sort of 3 or 4 inches. But then there'll become a point where I can't hold the power just with main sheet tension and having that traveller out, so I'll swap over to traveller in and start using kicker. No, I left them alone. I end up putting my back foot over the centreboard case, and then I've got my front foot tucked inside me with my bum on the inside edge of the side tank, and that's a position that I find quite comfortable, find myself quite locked in. This foot, if I need to head up onto a reach or something, my front foot can quite easily just hook into the strap from being underneath me to just going in front of me slightly, and I can start using that strap. It's probably just a bravery thing, really, letting enough kicker off so you can go low. But I think the key in the solo to going low on the runs is that kicker. How much you let off determines quite a lot how deep you can go. Taxi made a comment that like you could tell who the OK sailors were because the OKs go by the lee really well. So it's probably something I've started to do more with sailing the OK a little bit more. And I think people think because you can't get your sail out sort of to 90 degrees in the solo that you can't go by the lee. But if you get the kicker out off enough, your leech wraps around quite far, and once you get it flowing by the lee, it does hold the main out. Whereas if you try and go by the lee and your kicker's too tight, it will just end up trying to jibe you. So yeah, and it's picking again, almost like the upwinds, picking your moments to go low. If you're trying to go low and you're fighting, driving into a wave or something, that's when everything loads up and the boat gets really wobbly. But if you can find a nice wave to sort of surf down and take yourself low, that's a good opportunity to do that. Take that while you can, and then come back up again when it's when you need to avoid a wave, run into the back of a wave or something. Yeah, trying to have a little bit of windward heel. I'd say steering in those kind of wind is more about main sheet. That helps you steer more. If you're trying to steer it too much with the rudder, you'll slow yourself down, and I think everything starts to load up then as well. So yeah, you'll want more windward heel if you want to try and bear away. And again, like you saw me before, I tried to stand up and put pressure through this back leg, and that's when you wanted to try and head up, and you've got to balance that with main sheet coming in as well. Because if you just head, I think I see quite a lot of people, they'll head up and not adjust their main sheet, and the boat's instantly wanting to try and bear away again. And that's where you can get into trouble, especially in the strong winds. You'll head up, and if you've got a fairly loose kicker and you've not pulled your main sheet in, the boat instantly wants to spin off and death roll. Sort of trying to surf waves weren't the easiest to surf, I thought, because they were quite choppy on Sunday. So one thing that I think some people don't know about that they're doing lasers quite a lot and stuff is the like reverse negative pumping is what I call it, which is where you drop the main sheet and let it and like flick it, and that flicks your leech to get you onto pump you onto waves. I don't know whether it'll show any. It wasn't really the day for pumping on Sunday, but
what, so you'll put it in a fraction and then let it go back?
So yeah, or I'll sort of bear away on a wave and just drop it a little bit.
Yeah. That's a confidence thing as well, isn't it?
Yeah, because if you let it out too much and you start to bear away, and you've got to sometimes balance that with pushing down on that leeward side.